I recently did a video on everything that I wore to Spain, Madrid specifically, and many of you liked it. So I thought I would backpedal a little bit and tell you everything that I wore to Lake Como and Milan in case you're planning a trip to Italy or anywhere in Europe and you want beautiful functional clothes, but the summers get so hot there. Very difficult sometimes to find something to wear. Like we see these Instagram pictures and they're all very, aspirational. Everybody looks great. The truth is that everyone is sweating buckets and covered in mosquito spray. So this is just a little FYI to de-romanticize the whole situation. That's just the tip of the iceberg. If you're interested in traveling to Lake Como and Milan, then I will share some of my tips and learnings at the end of the video in case you want to stick around for that, and I hope it helps you. I'm Ziba. If you're new here, a very warm welcome. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. Many of you that watch my videos aren't subscribed yet, so I would so appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I cover fashion and styling videos. My goal is to help you build a classic wardrobe, and my years of going to Paris New York Fashion Week help me bring you the most wearable trends so that you can incorporate them into your existing wardrobe and feel confident in them. I'm also just a mom that needs to get dressed, so I really keep that lens whenever I'm selecting any of my outfits here. I'll start with my travel outfit because travel outfits are very much an art because you are sending yourself off into a different location and you never really know how things are going to go. You don't know if you're going to be delayed, if you're going to get stuck somewhere, if your luggage is going to be lost, but you really want to think about having a very layered outfit so that you have options in case something goes awry. I was carrying an extra pair of underwear with me, as well as of course my toothbrush and everything like that. But for this trip, I wore cargo pants by Nike, some sneakers, a white tank top, a button down, and then a very long cardigan that just really helped kind of act as a blanket on the plane. I always have anywhere from 3 to 4 layers depending on the season, because sometimes you get so cold, or sometimes your kid gets cold, or whatever it might be, or you need an extra pillow, and then sometimes you get really hot. So having that base tank top has saved me from just like sweltering, and I always regret when I skip that layer. The other travel bag that I used was this beautiful Demier London tote. This is in New York, the largest size that they have, and they have them in a few different colorways, but I love the black and white one, and I chose it specifically for this trip because I wanted a very European look, and it ended up working out really nicely. So what you'll find when you go to Europe is that many flights leave at night for you, and then you get there early in the morning the next day, European time, and your hotel room is not ready. You have to hover and loiter until about 3 or 4 o'clock when your room is ready and last night's clothes. So this is where the extra change and underwear really comes in, and even a fresh shirt is really helpful so that if you were able to sleep at all on the plane, that you can kind of hit the ground running. So when we landed in Milan, I had planned to wear the Skims dress, which I really like carrying with me in many trips, especially abroad, because it's very lightweight and it's always a fantastic base. The first way that I wore the Skims dress was just with sneakers. That was really helpful just to be able to be nice and cool and still look a little bit more put together. And of course, the sneakers are great just to walk around, especially when you're already tired. And then in the evening, I swapped out those sneakers for my Inez silver platforms that I absolutely love. I wear them all the time. So beautiful. They go with everything. So I changed into these, and these were comfortable enough to still be able to still walk around quite a bit. And then just to make it a little bit fancy, I ended up putting on a Zara mesh dress that was very bejeweled just to add a little bit of shine. Mesh is so trending for 2024. Really easy to incorporate, especially if you have like a base dress like the Skims one here. You can add something over it and automatically make it a little bit fancier. The thing that was really funny about that night is that I promised myself that I would just like not shoot any content. I would just go about my night. I would be present, enjoy my family, all the things. And as we were walking out of dinner, there was a street style photographer that stopped me and said, "Hey, is there any way that we could just take some pictures real quick?" And like we had like the Gucci backdrop in the back, and it was just hilarious because my husband was like, "Fine, go ahead." Such an easy tweak, and the outfit itself wasn't very expensive. And if you want more information about the Skims dress and are on the fence, I have a whole video dedicated on a whole review of it, and also the Amazon dupe. So in case you're between the Amazon dupe and the Skims dress, all the information is there. Soon after that, we were on our way to Como. It's not a very long drive. It takes a little bit over an hour. And before we knew it, we were at the place we were renting from a friend, and it was extremely beautiful. And like, I'll never forget like just walking out and seeing the lake and just seeing like, wow, this is, I feel like I had truly arrived, not just there, but like in life. I was definitely had a pinch me moment. And that's kind of when we started realizing how extremely hot it is. So one of my favorite outfits to wear, given that we had access to a boat and we were kind of like outside most of the day, was white shorts, a one-piece bathing suit, and ballet flats. This was a very easy look to wear because it was so light, and there was always kind of like the threat of, am I going to jump in the pool? Am I going to jump into the lake? You know, am I going to get wet in the boat? It was a great way to look chic and put together because like I feel like when you're in Italy, especially in that kind of place, you want to feel like you've got it together. You don't want to just look like you're in your Amazon best. You still want to be functional. You don't want to wear your nicest stuff because you don't want to ruin it. That was an outfit that I really reached for and that served me really well. The other shorts outfit was the Rome shorts by Zazan, which is a brand that I really love. I have a lot of videos dedicated to the brand in case you want to explore French style or are just curious about some of the pieces. And the Piero shirt, which is a very light and gauzy shirt that just works really, really well over a bathing suit, or when you want to cover yourself up from the sun, over a bathing suit as well, and white loafers. And then my black and white Demoliere London bag, just to give me that tomato girl summer that was so popular last year. And in terms of nicer pieces for evening and dinners, which by the way, dinners take so long, and there's always a part of you that feels like, oh, I'm eating very organic and everything here is so fresh, including the wine, and you're just like, for a second you're like, I don't think I'm feeling hungover, and then you're like, oh wait, I am hungover. Just kidding, the wine is just real wine, like regular wine. And some of my favorite outfits were by Love Shack Fancy. One of them was a midi skirt that was very light and airy, and brown belt, white tank top, and a white blazer, just to, again, have options to be cool because you never really know like how it's gonna all shake out. The other Love Shack Fancy outfit that I really liked was a two-piece set that has a corset. They do corset and kind of like that feminine, dramatic maximalism so well. It's such a great brand to kind of fulfill that fantasy self thing. And this is a brand where you can get these pieces that are a little bit dreamier, but that you can actually wear day to day. And what you'll find when you're going to Como or actually any place in Europe is, you know, you do a lot of day trips, and I always like to be, of course, picture ready. I like to kind of feel like main character style, but then I also am very worried about not ruining stuff. So one of the dresses that I wore is Anna Rabes. It's a beautiful, high quality Amazon brand that I highly recommend if you are disenchanted with Amazon in general and you're like, oh, like I can't find anything. Their stuff is really impressive. The quality is great. And I've never returned anything that I've gotten from there, which I can't say for many Amazon brands, just saying. I went on a ferry with it. It got wet. I had lunch. I had ice cream. There was like a ton of stuff going on, and I didn't have that feeling of like, I'm going to ruin my dress. So it was really great for that. For this particular outfit, I wore espadrilles, and again, my Demoliere London tote bag that I really leaned into. The other day outfit that I wore was a white and blue polka dot dress. My trusty Piero top by Zazan, which was also a polka dot print. With this outfit, I wore white loafers. I really, even though I always bring jeans, I had zero intention or desire to wear jeans. It was simply too hot to even think about wearing jeans, or even my cargo pants again. I didn't look at a pair of pants for the rest of the trip. So there was also a linen dress by Daughters of India that I loved wearing there. I felt like I just kind of like blended into the whole mood. And this company is incredible. They make these dresses extremely ethically. They hire women in India that make these beautiful dresses by hand, have wonderful work policies, sustainably made, and they have not only beautiful dresses, but I love the mission of being so transparent about exactly how the dress was made and, you know, what went into it, and that everybody felt good about it and was compensated for their works. I love a good story like that. I wore this dress with my by Milano tote that was kind of like a vachetta leather that I really love. I've talked about it on here before. And then also just white loafers and a ton of mosquito spray. Another bathing suit that I really liked was one by Amazon. It's a two-piece set. It's a really nice blue and white that is very flattering. It's got a little scarf that you can kind of tie around your waist as a cover up, and it matches perfectly. I love this little swimmy, and it's of course really affordable. So I'll link it below along with everything else. And if you aren't following me on my LTK shop, make sure to do that. I link all these collections on the different YouTube videos, keep up on sales. So you definitely want to check out my profile over there. And the other dress that I love wearing in Como because it kept me so cool was a gorgeous piece by Joyfully that was just a very flowy, vintage inspired dress. I belted it with a brown belt, and I think I was wearing my brown ballet flat. It kept me nice and cool for the day. And then from there we went back to Milan. I wore a really fun sequin dress from Zara that I happened to get there. Just perfect for like the last night out in the big city. Okay, so you're planning your trip to Como, some things to consider. So the first thing I'll say is that perhaps it's time to re-examine when to go. So the whole Italian summer sounds great and it's beautiful and aspirational and we see it, but the reality is that it's extremely hot. It's very hard to find shelter like in the middle of the day. You're just kind of like want to get out of the sun. So most of the time what we would do is we'd either go back to the house that we were renting, or we would go and sit and have a very long lunch somewhere. And so it just felt a little bit like we had nowhere to go because it's so hot unless you're on the water. So that's just one thing to consider, is that maybe like moving it up a little bit in April or early May or even late September, October might be something to think about. Mosquitoes are so prevalent in Lake Como. They're everywhere. My kids were eaten alive by them. They had welts all over their limbs. It was really terrible. No amount of mosquito spray was enough to deter all the mosquitoes that there were. And now let's talk about where to stay. So we went with two families with kids. So we rented this large villa from my friend. And so it was great for like kind of communal living and all seeing each other. We all get along really well. So it worked out perfectly. When we went to Bellagio for a day trip and we went to this really nice hotel that I'll pop up here on the screen because I can't remember the name right this second, I thought to myself, you know what? I would have rather stayed in a hotel that was air conditioned, that was cleaned every day, and that there was like somewhere to go away to. And then for that moment, there was like not that many bugs because this villa was completely open air. So like all the doors and windows were open at all time. It was indoor, outdoor living, which is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like it felt magical. But there was so many little critters coming in and out of the house all day that it was just a little too much for an indoor girl like me. The other thing to consider is cars and boats. So do you need a car? I would say yes. The catch is that the parking is extremely limited and it's so difficult. So again, if we would have just stayed in Bellagio, then we probably wouldn't have needed a car as much. Maybe could have just taken ferries back and forth because Bellagio has so much happening and you don't need to drive around. So if you're gonna stay somewhere remote like a villa, you definitely need a car or hire a private driver if you can. The things to consider are if you're going to stay in a villa away from kind of, you know, the crowd of staying at like a Bellagio town or Lake Como, even Como, because Lake Como is like the whole thing, but then there's Como. Then you can do the hotel that you can kind of like go out and can do stuff without a car and then take ferries back and forth places. Or if you want to stay more remotely, they could do the whole driving thing. The thing about staying in a villa or someplace more remote like the way that we did is that not only do you need a car, but you probably need a boat as well. And so if you don't have somebody in your party or you don't know how to charter a boat, you don't know how to do it, then it gets a little bit tricky. So all just little things that you don't know until you go. I do recommend that you build in some time before or after to stop in Milan and to just explore there. You don't need a ton of time. It's not like Paris or London where you want a whole week. I think you can get it done easily in 3 days. It's beautiful. It feels very safe. The shopping is incredible. There's so many amazing picture moments. So is it worth it? Absolutely. It was one of the most unforgettable trips of my life. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. You can also DM me on Instagram. I'm always on there. And if you had fun with me today, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I hope to see you really soon.